Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC and this is Blue Line CV and welcome to the England match review with our 1-1 draw and our 4-3 penalty win over Colombia. I still can't get over the fact that it's the first time I've seen England win a penalty shootout. Now of course in this match review there's going to be a few positive things and a few negative things. Of course I got to discuss the tactics of the game and why everything became what it was, but before I do that, I need to praise Southgate and I need to praise these England players. You guys, it's the first fucking time we've seen an England team beforehand. It's never been like that since I've been a kid. Now, of course, I know if there's older viewers, you would have better memories of England, but obviously I'm not the same age as you. I don't really have them. I'm seeing guys, previous England national teams, managers using stupid tactics, using guys out of position. Imagine that the debate between whether Lampard and Gerrard can play together was something that happened for how many fucking years? It's so stupid. And then when you're hearing things from Ferdinand talking about the fact that a lot of England players weren't really united, they were still bringing their club rivalries to the national team, no one was really comfortable with each other, etc, etc. It's a massive shame, and everyone back there needs to take responsibility. But with this current England national team, I'm going to sound really lame, I know, but obviously the diversity, obviously the youth, managers with new ideas, different ideals, none of the old bullshit with the old England teams. It's completely new. They have their own identity, and you see it with the team, you see it with their squad dynamics, how everyone gets along. They leave all their club bullshit to the side. They become a team together. The manager finally using a system, using tactics that complement the players and the squad that he has as well. But you guys, that's enough of me, bum licking and all of that. Obviously, I need to talk about the match review. Now, starting with the lineup, England did use their 3-5-2, which is normal. And I kind of expected England to have this approach for this game. Now, you guys, if you remember things I've been saying before in previous live streams, for example, I have spoken about the fact that I was quite nervous of Colombia exploiting the area between England's defence and their midfield, because again, guys like Quintero, guys like James Rodriguez, who thank God wasn't playing today, and maybe that was the first blessing from God that we got today, so thank you. But yeah, that's an area that Colombia really looked to cause a lot of danger in. With guys like Quintero, for example, this guy can play it short, play it long. He can shoot from distance. Incredible vision as well. The link-up play with James. And of course, you've got guys like Cuadrado and, the other guy, Pajak, or whatever the Colombian guy's name is on the left-hand side, providing that width and the movement of Falcao. I mean, Colombia were very, very good in the group stages. They looked like a very good team. Very fluid on the attack as well. And they really went for it. And that was the complete opposite of what they were doing during the first 80 minutes of this game. But before I even delve deeper into that, just continuing with England, as I was saying, I expected England to use a lineup of using a 3-5-2 because that three-man midfield was key in stifling that space between England's midfield and their defence, because that's the space that Colombian players like to operate in. And off the ball, when we're defending off the ball, we had to have that midfield dropping deeper and being very compact and narrow, and basically just following the movements of their opposites behind them in defence. You know what I mean? And it was working. Colombia didn't create anything from open play. I thought they were quite poor. But at the same time, even though England fared a tiny bit better, there were still struggles at times. Now, when I was watching this game, I just kept thinking, both teams really know their opposition's strengths and weaknesses. I think with Colombia, for example, we've seen them use a very high line so far throughout this World Cup. And I think they realise, playing against England, we can't really fall into that trap, because with England, they've got guys that will attack the spaces. They will run in behind. They will run into wide areas and really stretch you. Guys like Lingard sacrifices himself for the team. I know he doesn't have those technical abilities. He doesn't. But I think in terms of his movement, his thinking off the ball, and all of those types of things that he does for the team, you got to commend him. Very commendable. You've got guys like Sterling as well. Dele Alli on top of that. And with Harry Kane as well, who's comfortable playing across the front three. This guy is a complete forward. He can hold up the ball. He can drop deeper. He can beat a man if he needs to. He can shoot from distance, score with his head. The guy's a world-class striker. You can't deny that. And Colombia didn't want to obviously risk losing out to those types of players. And this is why Colombia's pressing was very different. Now, other Colombian teams I have seen, obviously, I said that wrong, but watching Colombia play throughout the tournament so far, when they press, they like to press a bit aggressively. But I was noticing for the first 80 minutes, and there's a reason as to why I keep referring to the first 80 minutes, which I will be touching on later on. It was the fact that when they were trying to close England down, it was so easy for England to beat Colombia's press and to play out from it. Now, obviously, when you're pressing against back three systems, you really need to use a man marking style. Now, I know this from experience. I am a Chelsea fan. I've seen teams constantly exploit us with that. I've really seen us struggle to play out from the back. That's what you need to do. You need to stop the wing backs getting forward. You need to man mark the defenders as well to make it harder for them to find those passing options, because you're trying to get us to obviously lose the ball in our own half and to try and exploit us from that. But Colombia made it extremely easy for us to play out whenever we wanted. Now, I do know we've got very good players playing out from the back. This is why there's no such thing as Gary Kane in this team, thank God. But it was way too easy. But Colombia wanted this because Colombia didn't want England to have that threat from their front players making those late man runs up behind. And to counter that, Colombia were defending very deep and very compact in those central areas to try and outman England in those areas. For example, let's say Sterling's on the ball, he had 2 players on him. Let's say Lingard was on the ball, he had 2 players on him. All the front players had 2 men on them all the time. And it was very difficult to shake Colombia off in those areas. And, you know, in a way, we were struggling to create many chances against them. But due to Colombia, in a way, sacrificing their game to try and stifle England and obviously showing England way too much respect, they really had no attacking agency or threat whatsoever. And yes, I understand James Rodriguez ain't playing, your best player. Fantastic relationship with Quintero. I mean, the football I was seeing with these guys during the group stages. But really, you're going to really be that pragmatic and you're going to be that negative and really stifle the team. And if anything, if you're a Colombian player, I'd be annoyed with Packerman. I'd blame him, to be honest, because you guys started off with the wrong foot. You know, you started with a disadvantage. You didn't create any single chances at all. Quintero was quiet throughout this game. As he kept seeing, he kept dropping deeper and deeper to try and do something. Packerman's plan of hoping that Cuadrado and Quintero would be able to find spaces between the lines to play close to each other rarely ever happened, because Colombia were never able to get their wide players out wide to really stretch the play. That was the big weakness, and that was what England were exploiting all the time. But England were stifling they were stifling themselves in a sense, because here's the thing. I think that England play fantastically as a team in this current Southgate system, but let's not forget the reality. You know, when it comes to the individual abilities and technical abilities of some of these guys, you know, case in point, Lingard, for example, it's not really there. This is why you see so many times where we were in threatening positions in the final third. It was amounting to nothing whatsoever because, again, the technical ability wasn't there. Wrong decisions were being made. Poor passes were being made by certain front players, etc., etc. But England still had the advantage in a way because Colombia couldn't do anything. But you guys, of course, the dynamic changed. We win a penalty. Ridiculous decision by Sanchez. God knows what he was thinking. It was deserved. I mean, Colombia really played with a lot of aggression. They really played with a lot of control in a sense. And it was kind of weird to see that because you hadn't seen it at all throughout the World Cup. And I don't know maybe what the manager told them to get in their faces to put pressure. But it clearly wasn't working. Maybe the occasion got to them too much. Of course, Colombia, you know, these guys, they play for their country. They play with a lot of heart and passion when they do it. So sometimes when you play with too much passion, there's a fine line where you can overcross that and obviously become a bit too aggressive and violent. And in a way, Colombia, you know, it's another example of Colombia costing themselves something from this game. Ridiculous play by Sanchez to bring down Harry Kane. And you just knew Harry Kane was going to finish it. Thank God for Pochettino. I mean, Pochettino has produced someone deadly up front. I mean, he just has that confidence. He knows where he's going to place it already. When you see him take his penalties, he looks at the ball because he knows in his head where he's going to hit the ball already. So, you know, fantastic by Harry Kane. You know, the guy is a world-class striker. I think there's no debate surrounding that. But after that, you're thinking, shit, England, it looks like they're going to get to the quarter-final. don't be surprised to see a second goal. After that, the Colombian manager Peckerman makes a few changes to try and get Colombia back in the game. And you're noticing that there's more spaces being exploited in behind for guys to operate in. And you're getting a sense that the second goal can come if we just keep up this intensity. But you guys, I've been referring to up to the 80th minute a lot when I'm making examples. The game was completely different after that, because Southgate, and I'm not going to lie, I was very disappointed for him to do these types of things, make these decisions. He brings on Eric Dyer, and then not too long after that, he does bring on Jamie Vardy. And in a way, he did sacrifice everything good that England were doing. The midfield was gone. The reason why this England team are doing bits so far this World Cup is because of those late man runs and the fluid movement of Sterling, Ali, Lingard, Loftus, etc. They provide those late man runs that supports Harry Kane in the final third. Of course, with England, we're not a possession team. We're looking to bypass the midfield and, in a way, find these guys making their runs in behind. And, you're taking off Ali. I can understand that one because, he's a bit injured. He's been knocked a lot. But then you're not bringing on Ruben. You're taking off Sterling, not bringing on Rashford. Instead, bringing on Dyer. And you're bringing on Vardy. And you guys, from then on, Colombia had the advantage for 25 minutes. The first 10 minutes before we went into extra time. And then for the next 15 minutes, the next 20 minutes of extra time as well. And it was very nervy and it was disappointing because it was like Southgate was going against all his ideals. He went down that pragmatic route. He went down the safe route. He was making decisions that weren't benefiting the team, but he was going along the basic cliche lines of, experience. Like, oh, of course, Eric Dyer is a defensive midfield player. Of course, it makes sense to bring him on. Oh, Jamie Vardy can make runs in behind. He can get that chance. Yeah, I can see it happening. Let me take him off. No, the midfield was gone. The runs in behind were gone. We weren't able to stretch Colombia for a very long time because of that. And Colombia were looking very dangerous from then on. And, it's natural then that they got the equalizer. And it was just like, getting the equalizer so late, right at the end, was so disheartening. They didn't deserve to get it, in my opinion. I'm sorry. They didn't create anything dangerous, really, throughout the entire game. And it was just like, this didn't have to happen. Those subs they didn't need to be made. I'm sorry. If you're using that, I would have understood if you're bringing on Dyer, if you're switching the formation from, 5-3-2 to 5-4-1. That makes sense then for that type of sub. But when you're keeping the same lineup but just switching the personnel, it doesn't work. I mean, really, Ruben needed to come on, and Rashford needed to come on as well to just keep that, to sustain the good play and the dynamics of the team at that moment. Once those subs came on, the midfield was gone. We were forced in our own half, and it was playing towards Colombia's strengths because really they were only playing with strikers up front, hoping to have good delivery inside the box to get something from that. But it wasn't to be. But, of course, later on, during the final 10 minutes of the second half of extra time, Southgate brings on Rashford. And in a way, that was a substitution that we needed. From then on, we were able to attack the flanks down Colombia's side. Colombia were very weak there because, the substitutions they made, the strikers they had up front, they weren't really able to track the runners. And we were able to keep the ball for the last 8 minutes. But it just made you think that if we just continue that same way of playing, there would have been no such thing as extra time, and we wouldn't have had to bear penalties as well. And you guys, of course, it goes to penalties, and I'm shitting it, honestly. You're shitting it. I'm sorry. You're looking at Colombia. You're seeing the conviction. Conviction alone was what got them into extra time. You're thinking that they can do it, and when you're seeing the first penalties taken by guys like Falcao and Muriel, the composure, and it looked like it was light work for them, like it was easy. Then Henderson comes on, and you guys, my thoughts on Henderson. I've been disappointed with Henderson this tournament. Of course, the guy missed the penalty, and you're thinking, fuck, come on, another penalty shootout we miss out on. But Uribe, if you guys don't know, he was the guy that produced that stupid long shot effort that forced a save from Pickford that created the corner for Colombia's equalizer. I mean, it really was an incredible effort. It was ridiculous. He hits the crossbar and you're thinking, okay, something can happen here. And then Trippier, he's channeling his inner Ashley Cole. Top left bins, top class penalty. What? 4-3 up. And then Pickford Fantastic world-class save at the end. Fantastic. Real talk, his reactions. When you see the replay, look how long his reactions were before he stuck out his left hand. Fantastic save. And then it comes down to Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer, the guy that missed an opportunity to win the game for us with a header right at the end. The guy didn't provide anything in midfield, which I thought was pretty poor. He's taking the final penalty. You're getting all these negative flashbacks. You're thinking, all this hard work, all this graft, just for it to fall down to Eric Dyer to take the final penalty. But the man upstairs, he's supporting England during this World Cup so far. I'm telling you, Eric Dyer, even though the goalkeeper gets a hand to it, which of course he was, it still goes back in the net. England just fucking won a penalty shootout, 4-3 against Colombia. I went crazy during the live stream when I saw it. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, it was amazing. Won a penalty shootout. It was deserved, you know, finally playing like a team. And credit goes to Southgate and the squad and everyone together for playing together, for playing for each other. That's what we've always wanted. In a way, that's really reflecting that English type of spirit, you know, that die-hard attitude, that hard-working attitude, which we haven't seen for like 18 years, which is crazy. And honestly, the guys did it. We're into the quarterfinal. We're playing against Sweden. Of course, the Swedish team will be very difficult to play against, but there's always a way. There's a possibility, especially with how this England team are performing. There's a possibility, you guys, we can get to a semi-final. So, fingers crossed. But you guys, I know this is a pretty long match review. There were a lot of things to talk about today. I'm sorry, but you guys, thank you for watching this. I expect more watch-alongs to come in the future. You guys, I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.